to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair moves for approval of the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Announcements, March 14th, all community facilities update at 7 p.m. At the Performing Arts Center. Hoping a lot of people take the time to come. March 15th, facilities committee meeting at 7 a.m. right here in this room. April 6th, Finance Committee meeting, 7:30 via Zoom. And April 10th, Policy Committee meeting here at 5:30, followed by the regular school board meeting at 6 p.m. As part of our process to fill the vacant school board seat, the school board will be conducting interviews tonight at a regular meeting. The committee comprised of the school board chair, myself, the treasurer, Ralph Harrison, and clerk, Lauren Davis, thoroughly reviewed 8 applications and selected 3 that we will bring forward to interview tonight by the school board. On behalf of the Westonka School Board, I would like to thank all candidates for applying for the vacant board position. We appreciate the desire to serve in our community and the impact that you could have on our community, and at the time you took to apply for it. At this time, I would like to invite Bradley Hammer to the table.
Right here?
Yes, have a seat right there. And have you gotten, you have the copy of the questions for them?
Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I'm gonna try to stick to this. I usually don't like reading something, but if I don't, I'll ramble for way past what my allotted time is. So, so if it's a little stiff, I apologize for that. So
That's all right, it's what you're comfortable with, so.
it's like 3 to 5 opening and then questions, or do you want to just launch into questions?
Yeah, we've got 4. No, we'll have your opening.
Okay.
And then we've got 4 questions, and just give you a copy of those.
Perfect.
Pardon?
I say should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's great.
And give us your opening statement.
Awesome. So thank you guys. Yeah, first of all, let me say thank you for the opportunity to interview. My name is Brad Hammer. I moved to the Westonka School District in 2018 with my family, and I have a kindergartner and a 2nd grader at Hilltop. Like many of my neighbors and folks I've met since arriving, my wife and I moved our family to this community to settle into our forever home and raise our kids, and selecting a school district was a big part of that decision. I applied to be on the school board because I want to see our schools and this community and those that are part of both thrive, and I felt getting involved with the school board was a great way to take the next step in my own community involvement. I've been a practicing attorney for a little over 10 years, focused on data privacy and cybersecurity law, including a little bit of representation of local governments and small government units earlier in my career when I was at Dorsey and Whitney. I think that my professional background in privacy brings a valuable perspective to the school board, especially with increased use of technology in our schools, cognizant of the benefits and the pitfalls of the technology, while ensuring that students are protected in their use of it. I'm an impassioned advocate for individual privacy rights, and especially in light of the recent data breach experience in the Minneapolis schools, I think that protecting the privacy of students and teachers needs to be a priority, especially in a world where oversharing and over-collection of personal data tends to be the norm, especially in what sort of I'm seeing in my day-to-day. In addition, I've experience working with kids. I was an assistant swim coach for summers during college. I was head coach of the Mounds View girls swim team for 4 years prior to going back to law school. And more recently, I serve on the board of the nonprofit Abby's Hope, which is a pink water bottle, which focuses on pool and general water safety, providing free swimming education, free life jackets, and things like that. Also been involved with local Westonka community programs, as well as mentoring through both of my alma maters at the U of M Law School and at Gustavus. setting aside my background, I'm excited to get involved, and I applied to get involved with the school board at a time when the district is looking to take its development to its next stages with the facilities improvement. I think that's great. I was a part of, when I was in high school, I grew up in Western Illinois. Our high school was built in the 40s and went through a huge renovation, under construction my whole freshman year. And there's a different sense of sort of pride that you get when the place you're going to school in every day is sort of new and improved. As with any major projects, I'm sure there's going to be important and difficult decisions to make to ensure that money is efficiently used and we don't lose steam on the athletic and academic improvements that are already happening in the district. But I look forward to that as a potential challenge. As far as other motivations, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that there are national trends pushing and pulling the schools and school boards into politics, but I firmly believe that the school board should be a body of stability and not one where the approach swings dramatically either with national or state politics. We need to keep the focus on educating our kids, and unnecessarily wading into national political debates or culture wars only serves to compound existing challenges, making the day-to-day items harder, increasing pressure on educators, leading to burnout and attrition of our great teachers and administrators that have been with the district for so long. In my experience with the district since we moved here in 2018, I've been really overwhelmed with how amazing the teachers and the staff and the administrators are at providing their students a supportive environment to learn in, and I'm continually impressed with their passion for the kids and their ability to rise to the challenges, especially some of those over the last several years. While no one denies that the school's primary purpose is to teach kids the basics, it's also one of the very first communities that students learn to participate in outside of their immediate families. And I want to do all I can to keep and support those teachers and administrators that, in my experience and the experience of so many others, make our schools a great place for our kids to go every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. We've got a series of 4 questions.
Sure.
And I'm going to start out with the first one. Regards to the quality of education offered in District 277, please identify 1 or 2 aspects that you believe are strong and should be continued, and an aspect that you believe we need to improve on.
Sure. In terms of the strengths, one of the things that I experienced was that my now second grader was participating in, I call it Mr. Wardlow time. He was having some behavioral issues, and he would go to do that. I can't remember if it was once a week or a couple times a week, but it was a huge benefit to him that some of the things he was experiencing, he wasn't singled out as like a problem or whatever that is, but he was given the opportunity to improve. And it's interesting because this year his teacher said, how would you feel if we didn't have him do that anymore? He can certainly go see Mr. Wardlow whenever he wants to, but I think he's sort of learned what he needs to learn and grown out of that. And that to me is amazing that there are those opportunities to help those kids, and to the point where it wasn't identified as a problem, but like, let's learn how to do this better. Now that he's a great student, and doesn't have to do that stuff anymore. And then just generally I have nothing but great things to say about how much. And granted, my experience is primarily Hilltop, but everybody I've met there just really cares about the kids, right? And I said that in my statement, but Mr. Mock, to the teachers, to everybody, really, it's fun to go there for stuff, and my kids are saying hi to all these people that I don't know, and I'm like, who's that? And he's like, oh, he does this and he does that, and everybody makes a point of knowing kids' names and really supporting the kids. I think in terms of improving, I do think that one of the things, I think that the facilities work is well timed, because I think that the high school in particular, it's hard to learn in an environment where the facilities aren't great in terms of if you're focusing on some of that as opposed to the day-to-day learning. Other than that, like I said, I'll admit that my experience has been limited primarily to Hilltop. I wish Hilltop had more windows, but I don't think we're going to be breaking down walls for that. So
I've got the second question.
Sure.
how would you see yourself, Brad, working with 6 other board members with differing ideas and opinions? And could you support a board decision that you maybe didn't agree with, and if, why or why not?
Sure. I'm only laughing because I think my day-to-day actually prepared me better with this question than even some of the privacy stuff. I mean, I am a compliance lawyer, and so my job is to say what I think the law is and the risks associated with it, and that frequently puts me in conflict with my clients' marketing teams, my clients' salespeople, my clients' HR. And what I do is I lay out the risk and they make the business decision. And so it is frequently the case that I am on a call or in meetings with people that I'm disagreeing with, and to be able to respectfully state your position and listen to others and try and understand where they're coming from, I think is what I do well. In particular, trying to find a middle ground is what I tend to do in those situations, which is, look, we can't do exactly what you want, but can we figure out a way to do it? It's maybe going to take a couple extra weeks, and we'll do this. So finding those compromises, I am very comfortable with, and is a part of my day-to-day. And yeah, if the decision is made that is not necessarily what I would have wanted, at some point, then you are a united front that has to present the decision that was made and figure out the best ways that you can to support it, even if it's not necessarily something that you agree with. So.
Brad, I have the third question, and that kind of relates to the second one and the fourth one, but as a member of the school board, how would you see yourself interacting with the administrators, the teachers, parents, the greater community?
Yeah, I think that the board needs to be constantly intaking information from all of those sources, right? And much like question 2, you're going to intake information from a variety of sources, whether it's administrators, teachers, parents, and the community as a whole, right? And there will be people that want very different things, and you have to try to weigh all those and think about what's best for the community as a whole to make a decision going forward. And then, once decisions are made, then you have to interact with those people and explain why, right? Especially people that maybe disagree with the decision that you ultimately ended up making, to explain what went into, in terms of me as a board member personally making those decisions, right? To say, this is why I supported this or didn't support this, and these are the factors that I took into account when doing that, cognizant, of course, of any sort of confidentiality and anything like that is associated with what I heard in the course of interacting and making that decision. But I think it's important to have both sides of that discussion, before decisions are made and after, and really doing that, and then just listening generally, even when there isn't sort of an active decision being made, to see what people are talking about, what the concerns are, and what might need to be addressed. So.
Brad, I have question number 4.
Mm-hmm.
How do you view a school board member's role in resolving contentious issues the public may present?
So this is challenging because I touched a little bit on this in my opening statement. You certainly can't ignore any issue that the public brings up, but I think any issue, especially the contentious ones, you look at what is happening in the schools and whether or not it is something that is appropriate for the school board to be addressing at that point in time. And so, because I can think of any number of issues, not without getting into specifics, where you see folks raising concerns about it, and I have not experienced any of those things in our school district, and I haven't heard of others that have. But perhaps if those are things that are coming up in our district and concerns that need to be addressed in our district, I'm always happy to listen to and hear how those might be coming into impact, and then deciding whether or not deciding how the board needs to resolve those. I mean, it's I'm certain that it's not an easy task to listen to a variety of opinions, especially on contentious issues, and come to a resolution. But I'm confident that, at least I hope that I would be able to explain my decision making on whether or not it's a contentious issue that should be picked up at a given point in time, or whether it's something to perhaps table or wait on, or say let's address the specific thing that's happening and maybe not feel like we're weighing in on a larger political or social issue, right?
Thank you.
The four questions
Yeah.
that we have. Once again, want to thank you for putting in
Yeah.
your application, coming in tonight, and you're welcome to stay the rest of the meeting if you want, and we'll be doing the other two interviews,
Okay.
having a discussion about it, and then we'll be voting on this at the end of our meeting.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for the time.
Thank you, Brad.
Joanna's next. Everybody's waiting outside, so be respectful of everybody else. She may not be here yet. We'll see. Thank you for coming in.
Welcome.
You'd like to start out, take, 5 minutes or so and tell us about yourself, background, all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Well, my name is Joanna Kahn, and I wanted to say thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to interview tonight. I'm very happy to be here. I was born and raised in Orange County, California, and that's where I spent most of my professional career. I got a bachelor's in English from the University of Southern California, and I have a master's in teaching from the University of California, Irvine. And I actually still possess a valid California teaching credential, so I have not yet transitioned that to Minnesota. In California, I taught public high school for 12 years. I actually taught at the same high school that I graduated from, so that was pretty unique. And I taught a wide variety of English classes there. I taught 9th, 10th, and 12th grades. And I taught all different types of classes. So I specialized in 9th grade honors, and I taught mostly either regular college prep seniors, and I had inclusion classes for seniors as well, where I would have a special ed co-teacher in the room with me and we would work together. After 12 years at the same school, I felt like I needed a bigger challenge, and so I transitioned to working for the Department of Corrections, and I taught at one of the 2 women's prisons in California. And honestly, that was a little bit more of a challenge than I had even expected, but that ended up being my favorite job so far. At the prison, which actually, fun fact, was the prison that Orange is the New Black was based on, if you ever watched that show. Many of the stories were taken from actual inmates there, some which I knew. At that prison, I taught adult basic education 2, which essentially is teaching grades 4 through 6 material, but it's teaching it to adult women in there. So my students there ranged in age from 18 up into, I think the oldest was like 72 or something. So education there was mandatory if you could not prove that you didn't have a high school diploma or a GED. So not surprisingly, because it was mandatory, a lot of the students did not want to be in my class, which is very understandable. I probably wouldn't want to be 72 working towards my GED that I wasn't going to use. So that was a really fun job, but really challenging in terms of drug use inside the prison, basic safety concerns, obviously, and a lot of mental health issues, which really impeded just basic functioning, frankly. So I actually got pregnant with my first child while I was teaching at the prison, and I retired from my prison teaching career when I gave birth. I've been home for the past couple years. I had 3 kids in 3 years, and kind of in the middle of that, I was 7 months pregnant with my second, and we moved to Mound, Minnesota, which is where I am now. And we actually moved to Mound sight unseen. It just fit. I love the idea of a small town, and I love it more now that we're here. And honestly, the school district was a really large part of why we picked Mound. It's kind of a Goldilocks of a school district. It's a small size, but very high achieving. And I really like that students were able to try a lot of things and didn't have to, choose early on to specialize in something, or, have to be the best in order to get to play a sport necessarily. I'm thrilled that since we've been here, we've had great experiences with the district. Our kids right now are 5, 3, and 2. My 5-year-old is in her 2nd year of preschool here, and both my 3 and my 2-year-old are in ECFE currently, so I'm there 3 days a week, which is a lot of ECFE. We've had excellent experiences with teachers, staff, everyone so far. So as for why I would like to be on the school board, for my time, especially as a public school teacher, I know how big of an impact the school board has on the school district. I think a lot of the general public doesn't always understand how much sway a board can have, so it's important to have a really pragmatic and functional board. And I did attend the school board debate in fall of 2021, which was really during the heated pandemic COVID restriction times. And at the time, I didn't know much about who was on the board or kind of what anyone's stances were, so I went with a very open mind. I didn't really know what to expect, and I was really impressed by just the level-headedness and pragmatism of the current board and those who are running. And Mr. Carlson, I appreciated you directly addressing the political elephants in the room, and I thought everything was handled really well. So I walked away really impressed, and again, really kind of happy with everything. So hopefully, with my prior knowledge of school districts based on my previous careers, I'm able to just help this current school board on its current trajectory and keep doing all the strong work that it's already doing.
Thank you. We've got a series of 4 questions we'll be asking you, and just take your time and answer them how you want. With regards to the quality of education offered here in District 277, please identify 1 or 2 aspects that you believe are strong and should be continued, and an aspect you believe needs to be improved upon.
Well, honestly, it's hard to identify just 1 or 2 aspects that are strong. They're pretty strong across the board. My husband and I recently went to Kindergarten Roundup for my 5-year-old, and what I didn't quite expect but was really pleased to see was the amount of specials that she would get at the elementary school level. The emphasis on PE and art and music, and the nature group that they have through 3 Rivers on Fridays. I was really excited to see not just an emphasis on academics, which is obviously kind of assumed, but also the strong emphasis on activities and events outside of the normal classroom day. I think it should be pretty common knowledge that the more students are exposed to things, the better they're going to do academically. And it's the truth that some students don't shine in the classroom. That's not their particular skill set. They have other strengths as people. And when you give them the opportunity to participate in all those extra things, they're able to maybe develop some skills that are outside of core academic skills. And that really can feed into their self-esteem and help them buy into the school, which is vitally important. So I was just really pleased to see the amount and variety that we already offer. And I'm sure as I continue through the school system, I'll see even more of those details. An aspect that I believe we need to improve upon, I did write about this in my application. It's hard to pick on this district in terms of the achievement gap. I know it's something that has been addressed. People are aware of it. Every district is sensitive to the achievement gap, both in terms of racial equity and probably socioeconomic status. We're really lucky in Mound, I think, that we do have a lot of diversity as compared to some of the neighboring towns. I think a lot of people here would consider a strength, and that's definitely one reason why I and my husband had wanted to move here. It's not exactly homogenous. But with that is special challenges. And one thing I learned when I was teaching in my previous district, which is very, very different from our district. My previous school was a 92% plus BIPOC population. It was 30% English language learners. We had a 30% transiency rate every year at high school level. It was very challenging. But one thing that my district really drummed into me was any special strategy that you would use specifically for English language learners really benefits students as a whole. So if you're focusing more on different modalities of teaching, trying to affect students that are, behind, you're also gonna, raise up all the other students as well. So I know that this is something that teachers are already aware of. This is not a surprise to anyone, and I know that they're already working on that. But I think Westonka probably could do a little bit better job of closing that gap because we have so many strengths to use with them.
Thank you.
Joanna, I've got the second question. How would you see yourself working with 6 board members with differing ideas and opinions? And could you support a board decision that you disagreed with? Why or why not?
Well, I would love to work with you and hear your different ideas and opinions. Honestly, I think you can see from my background, I actually really thrive in highly emotional situations. I chose to work with teenagers for many years. Then I worked with female inmates, which are not the most stable population. And I currently stay home with a preschooler and 2 toddlers, so just a lot of emotions every day. I'm used to hearing lots of different ideas and opinions, and honestly, that's what makes it worthwhile. If everyone's in agreement, there's no need for discussion for anything. So what I'm good at is definitely listening to everyone's point of view. I forgot to mention my opening statement, but I am also a Parks Commissioner for the City of Mound. So I already work with a group of people there. And I feel like from what I have seen from this current school board and Parks Commission, it's much the same. By the time you've come to a vote, because you've hashed everything out so much, votes end up often being unanimous because you kind of worked out the issues. So it's not that everyone starts out at a place of agreement, but you've kind of solved the problems along the way. And that's kind of what I would see myself doing with the board. I'm not here to be a spoiler or anything. I would hope that we could work together to help the district and solve other problems. As for could I support a board decision that you disagree with, I don't know how you guys do the voting, if it's unanimous or the majority. Obviously, I would go along with the rule even if I didn't agree with it, just like of course I had to previously as an employee in a district.
I have a third question. As a member of the school board, how do you see yourself interacting with the administrators and the teachers, parents, and the larger community?
I welcome it. I'm so excited about this part. This is my favorite part, maybe. One of my core personal values is connection. I love to be connected to other people. I love to connect other people to each other. And that was actually one of the reasons I wanted to move to a small town. I'm from Anaheim, California. It's the 7th largest city in California. It has a population of 300,000. The school district that I taught in had 35,000 students. So it can't, in a way, it seems like that should be so easy to make connections because there's so many people. But in a way, it's more challenging. And one of the things I love about being here in this small town is the first place I go anywhere, I look around to see who do I know here? Like, who can I say hi to? Who can I connect with? And that's been a really exciting part for me of being in a smaller town. So I don't know if I do know anyone in the room, but many people have been to my house. I was hosting weekly drop-in play dates for the younger moms around here. I entertain frequently. I just really look forward to getting to meet and connect with as many people as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, I have question number 4. How do you view a school board member's role in resolving contentious issues the public may present?
Whew, well, first of all, I'm so glad I was not in your shoes in the past couple years when you had to, weather all the COVID restrictions. That was not an envious task. I find school boards very interesting because on the one hand, they should be really non-political. Everyone's here for the kids, for the best interest of the kids and educating children. That seems like it should be something that people can agree upon. But of course that is inherently political because what could be more important than what and how you're educating innocent children with. So I realize that school boards are often actually a flashpoint for political issues. I dealt with that in my prior district, and it was very challenging when people would come in with a personal political agenda and not be responsive to public opinion. We had a couple instances, weirdly, like one person wanted wanted to make a resolution that all students had to stand up when an adult entered the room. And for a district like ours, which had much bigger issues, that was kind of a weird thing to focus on. So I do think that the board needs to obviously listen to people's feedback. At the same time, people generally only present their opinions when they're fighting back or being negative. You know, it's kind of the silent majority, you know, is fine with how things are. So it's kind of something that I think when a school board member is chosen, and hopefully or appointed, people are choosing that person because they think that they can rely on their sense of judgment. So it's important to listen to the feedback from the public, and at the same time, a school board member does have their own background and education, and they hopefully are going to make a decision that's in the best interest of as many people as possible.
Thank you. Those are 4 questions. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, and we're going to have some conversations about people once we finish up the interview process. And when we get to our action items tonight, we'll be voting. So thank you for coming in. I realize it's a time commitment, and everybody, we're a lot of strong candidates. So once again, thank you for all your insight.
Thank you.
Joanna, very
Thank
much.
you.
Hi.
This
Right
way.
in there. Get the hot seat.
Where are the hot lights?
We're going to start out with you taking some time to introduce yourself, tell us some of your background, what you're involved in,
Great.
everything. Just let us know what you're all about here.
Great. Okay, well, my name's Brian Roth, is how you pronounce the last name. And I'll highlight a couple things, wrote down a couple notes here. Highlight a couple things about my background and my interest in the school board here. So, first of all, I'm a proud, longtime part of this community here. I have 2 kids who are at Hilltop. I have twin nephews at Grandview. And I myself am a graduate of Mound Elementary and Shirley Hills. You might remember me as the dancing skeleton in the 5th grade operetta back then. And even though I did not continue with at Westonka, this is where I grew up. This is where my friends were. This is where I spent my summers, and I'm pretty sure all my homecoming dates were from Mound too. But I understand where the district was then and the tremendous strides it's taken to bring us to where we are today. So I'm also in touch with the residents in our district. I know the impact that, for instance, that Tonka Toys had on shaping the economic profile of this community. I know the lasting impacts that Tonka Toys had when moving away from the community. And I know the economic diversity that still remains and is part of the fiber of our community. I know this not just because I'm a resident, but also because I lead the finance and technology operations for Allen Ellis, another pillar in Westonka here. This community is also where I choose to volunteer my time. For many of the past 12 years, I've chaired the Parks Commissions for both City of Mound and City of Orono. And I remember several meetings when no one attended. That's not the case anymore. For the past few years, there have been much more participants and participation by residents in our work. And as a result, I've learned a ton about how to engage with the community and how to navigate the commission through the public process. My style is to rely on facts, transparency, and process, and try to build consensus across the commission. Then I rely on courage to make the right recommendations, even when that doesn't make everyone happy. This is the same experience and approach I would bring to the school board. There's another relevant experience I've taken from my time on the Orono Park Commission. I've had hands-on roles in the design and funding of large-scale projects. During my time, the Park Commission has successfully developed parks, fields, and added park amenities in our area, including the Lurton Dog Park, Beaterwood Soccer Field, where Orono Westonka Club practices, upgrades to Navarre Park, and the development of Big Island Park. As a member of the school board, I'd leverage these experiences, my knowledge of the community engagement strategies, and my financial background to assist with large projects in Westonka, like the facilities upgrades project. My wife and I have did spend lots of time researching districts and talking to a lot of people before choosing an elementary school. We live in a district, but in a neighborhood where many of the kids open enroll in Orono. And despite the Orono bus stop being right up our street, we decided that the Orono experience was the right fit for our family. One of the biggest reasons was that Westonka teachers could know our kids as individual learners. It turns out we were right. What's my interest in serving on the school board? Well, first of all, I believe in the vision that you have for the district. As I mentioned in my application, I've been considering the school board for many years. I've recently attended Kevin's presentation about the facilities upgrades, and that energized my interest. I also appreciate the attention the district is spending on addressing mental health issues. This is a growing need for all students, and I'm glad to hear about the assessment that was recently done and the investment that the district is making in this area. I'd be excited to roll up my sleeves to help advance these and other board initiatives. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I got the first question. So,
Okay, great.
Does he have
with regards,
do you have a copy of the questions?
Is this what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, good.
all right. With regards to the quality of education offered in our school district, please identify one or two aspects you believe are strong and should be continued, and an aspect you believe we need to improve upon.
Okay. Well, I touched on a couple things in my intro, which is the thing that was most important to, one of the things that most important to us, which is the teacher's approach to understanding and learning about our kids and teaching individually. That's something that we've experienced through Hilltop, both of our kids. So that's one thing I think is something that's really strong. I think that another way to put that is the size of the district, the size of the schools, make it more accessible for all students to achieve the learning that they intend. One thing that I've thought about could be improved is I think the district could build a stronger brand. The what is Westonka brand, and I think that that's important for a couple reasons. One is that we're in an environment now where we're competing for students and we're competing for top talent for administrators and for teachers. And I think that improving the brand would help that. I think the other big thing that would help that is the facilities upgrades that you guys are contemplating right now. We need the facilities that complement the academics that the school can provide right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm writing here, hold on. So I have a second question, Brian, and that is this. How would you see yourself working with 6 board members with differing ideas and opinions? And then could you support a board decision that you disagree with? Why or why not?
Absolutely. So, excuse me. I believe it's a privilege to be on a board, okay? And we have the privilege to be able to, and I'm talking about my experience on the Parks Commission now, okay? So same thing here, where We have the privilege of contributing to the conversation. We have literally a seat at the table where we can express our views and our opinions, and we can contribute to the debate around certain issues. But I think we also have a duty to the other board members and a responsibility to the other board members to support the decision that collectively the board makes. I've had a couple, I can think of a couple of examples where commissioners on the Parks board have not supported the decisions or recommendations that have come from the commission, and they've tried to take off that commissioner hat and put on their resident hat, and I think that that's does a disservice to everyone who's volunteering their time to do what they think is good for the community.
I have a third question. And this relates, of course, to this one that you just answered.
Okay.
But as a member of the school board, how do you see yourself interacting with the administrators and the teachers and the community at large, the parents at large?
Yeah, great. So a couple things. One is I'm the type of person to roll up my sleeves and get into it. Okay, so I'm not reading the materials on the way here for the board meeting type of person. I'm a person that wants to understand, and thankfully I have the flexibility in my life that I can contribute the time that it takes to and the board deserves. So I would I believe that the role of the board is not to supervise Kevin and not supervise his activities necessarily, but to interact and work as a team together with them. So first of all, I would roll up my sleeves and understand the issues. I would work with him and the staff to understand their perspectives as well, and you as well. And then community engagement. I mean, at the end of the day, we represent the people of the district, and so that's something that I feel I do well. I'm having coffee tomorrow or the next day with someone in Orono that has a strong interest or a strong viewpoint on some work that we're doing there. I mean, that's how I'd like to engage. Is I'll just shoot him an email and want to meet at Caribou if we want to do that. I would. There's more formal ways to engage with the community, like open houses and listening sessions and so forth. So those are all ways, depending on the situation, those are all ways that I would see myself engaging with the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ryan, I've got the next question. How do you view a school board member's role in resolving contentious issues the public may present?
Yeah, so like I said, that I think that our role is to represent the viewpoints of the residents in the district. And so, first of all, it's important to understand their viewpoints, and it's important for them to be heard. It's important to not bring to the table your kind of predilections or your viewpoints. It's important to be open with them. So, I think that contentious issues happen. I have a lot of. If we had more time, I could go through some of the experiences that I've had on the Parks Commission about contentious issues, and what I find is that like I said earlier, is that I believe in facts, I believe in transparency, and I believe in process. And so process is very important to get to the right answer.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Sure.
That's it.
Was that too quick?
No.
Okay. Very much.
Everybody's quicker than we thought, so.
Short and sweet
So
is
you're
best.
welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We're gonna have some discussion now,
Okay.
talking about candidates. And,
Sure.
And then, at the end of the meeting, when we get to our action items, that's where we'll take a roll call and
Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to interview and meet you guys, kind of. Meet you guys,
Appreciate
but,
you taking the time, because, I mean, this is important. I mean, we got a lot of good things going on, and we wanna get the right person in place.
Good.
to Keep things going, so.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we have a little discussion here. I'd like to get input from everybody, or talk about, and what we feel their strengths, but to look at people that work with.
I'd just like to start out by saying that I would be very happy with any one of these candidates on the
Yes,
board.
I agree.
I agree.
And I wish you could all be on the board.
That's
and
right, I
would
agree.
strongly encourage you to don't give up and come
Yes.
back and see us, because we're gonna be having an election before too long.
Yes, I totally agree.
So
I
don't-
second that.
Do not be discouraged, because you're all very well qualified,
Well,
and we would love to see all of you on the board.
yeah, and it's, I can't remember if Kevin made this already, but three of us sitting up here, myself and Brian and Gary, all did the same thing. We
And
went
Heidi,
through.
and Heidi did too.
Well, Heidi did too, but you were selected. The three of us all went through the process of interviews and were not selected the first time
Oh, yeah, right.
that we went through.
Yeah.
And, but you'll figure out why Heidi
I
was
didn't know
selected.
you weren't selected the first
I
time.
wasn't selected the first time, no, so, you know, was asked to run at a later time, and I think that's true for you
Yeah.
and for Gary as well. So obviously, we can only choose one person tonight, and I agree with Ralph, I'd be comfortable, very comfortable with any of the three. But if not, yeah, there will be, you know, there are 4 seats coming up for election, re-election in November. So we encourage people to run at that time as well.
Well, you know, whoever gets voted in tonight, that's 8 months of getting your feet wet, and maybe you'll be running the other way. I don't know.
That's right.
So, I mean, I look at it from, you know, now, from the standpoint, this is the opportunity to see if you like it, and then, like I said, then, we go to, 4 seats available in November, which goes to a public vote. And, you know, I see a lot of strengths. Everybody here had strengths, in dealing with the public, the school systems. I saw a lot of positives, and I agree with the other people here. Any one of you would be a good candidate for this position. You know, it's hard for us, because then we have to make that decision. And, but that being said, does anybody else have anything else to add? If not, like I said, when we get to the action items, which are at the end of the meeting here, there'll be a vote, we'll have a little discussion again, and then we'll go to a vote. With that, we're gonna move on to the next portion of the meeting. Emily, were there any cards in the box?
Well, we didn't
I can go out and check.
We didn't discuss the strengths. Discussing the strengths of each one at this time.
That's legal.
I saw here, I thought it was. Gary, do we take time now to discuss each candidate, or do we do that at the end?
At the end, I'll ask everybody for who you feel you would like to support.
Okay, that's what I was discussing, we don't discuss strengths of each particular.
Well, we can,
candidate.
yes, I mean, right now,
Yeah.
that's what I asked. and-
Yeah, well, we sort of got sidetracked by complimenting all of them.
No.
That's cool.
No, that's-
But I'd like to hear from the other board members, you know, what you see, I'd like to go through each one, I know it might be
Absolutely.
embarrassing for them, but to say, what are the strengths of each that we heard?
Absolutely.
So-
Well, I'll start out, and I'll start out with Brad, because he was
Okay.
number 1.
Yep.
And, you know, I guess Brad obviously is a very good communicator, and they were all very good communicators. And one thing that I think is a strength with Brad is he does have a sense of the legal landscape that we're dealing with, and probably it's gonna become more that way in the future, dealing with some very contentious issues, very high emotional issues. So it's very good to have somebody who has a very level head and kind of understands a little bit about the legal aspects of this. So that's one thing that struck me, but as I say, I was impressed with all of you, and Brian, I was very impressed also with the fact that you've been here a long time. You seem very sincere about being active and promoting the brand, which we've been trying to do for a long time, and we think that it's much better than it used to be, and we're very proud of the district, but we would all go along with the fact that we could use a facelift in some of our facilities. But it's nice, I find it really refreshing that somebody, because I'm in the same boat in my neighborhood, many people go to Orono. And not that I have anything against Orono, because I have many friends there, but our district is a little better. But, in any event, it's very refreshing to see somebody who's grown up and is kind of familiar with some of the problems that the district has had in the past. And so you can see that we've overcome some of those, but we're not all the way there yet. So that's very refreshing. And Joanne, you know, your background in teaching is very impressive. We can't argue with it. I mean, maybe you should be a teacher. Very impressive resume, and like I say, I wish you all could be here.
Well, you know, when I look at him too, I like Brad's background in being an attorney, and his reaction to all issues and making good decisions and being transparent. I think those are important things. Being a school board member, and Joanna with your teaching background, and just getting into it with the younger children and being involved in this, you're really starting to see what goes on in this community. And I think you brought up a good point that this is a community where a lot of lifelong friendships develop. I mean, and you're just getting into that with kindergarten roundup and all the other things. So I think the connections there with that group of parents is a strong thing also. And you know, Brian, you know, you've been in this district a long time. You've seen the changes. You saw where it was, where it went to, and we're really making great strides. I mean, heck, when I first moved here, the train was still going through town. So I mean, you know, this town has changed a lot. Education has gotten very. I mean, I'm in contact with a lot of kids that graduate from here, and you know, just for everybody, you know, they contact me and tell them how well prepared they've been going off to college and stuff, which is fantastic to hear. I like the fact that you talked about transparency. That for me is very important as being part of the school board member. So those are the strengths I see, guys.
So excellent candidates. Again, just really, really impressive to see so many people interested in serving the community. First off, I really want to just say that Joanna, my question is particularly compelling. I feel the contentious issues that have kind of absorbed a lot of the energy in our community over the last couple, 2-3 years. I feel like you really get that, and that's important. I think all three of you did. I think we're all sensitive to it. It's not going away. I think that's important to know how to navigate those waters, and just have an open mind and a desire to serve the community and serve our kids as well as possible, always. Brad, I appreciate your focus on cybersecurity. That's something that is going to continue to be extremely important for schools going forward. So any basic understanding of that is extremely helpful. I would say I would just repeat about Brian, your perspective on the change that our district has gone through is helpful. You've served your community in a lot of other ways, and that your experiences on other boards is extremely helpful. So thank all of you very much.
So I would be remiss in saying that I wasn't impressed by an English teacher, as I'm married to an English teacher for many years. So of course that experience carries a lot of weight. I really appreciated a lot of what you had to say, Joanna, about the places you've been, the things you've done, teaching at a women's prison. I can imagine that would lend itself very well. I would also like to echo that I agree all three candidates are really strong, and I would have it's a very difficult choice to choose between the three of you, but I would also encourage you all to still come out and run. As they said, there's 4 seats open. Brad, I really enjoyed your opening statement a lot. I thought it was very well put together. I especially liked when you talked about having to deal with day-to-day conflict, finding a compromise in some of the difficult situations maybe within your job that you have to deal with. I would say that very much lends itself to this type of role. And then Brian, I would also, again, thank you. I really appreciated your opening statement as well. I really liked some of the things you hit on with regards to, and all three of you did actually, I think, but with regards to our facilities and the improvements that we're working on, trying to make happen there. You mentioned mental health issues in our work there. It shows me that you really understand a lot of the things that we're working on here as a board. And the idea of trying to improve our brand and where we stand. Also, those are things that have been big topics since I've been on the board. So thank you to all of you. I really appreciate all of your time.
Yeah, again, just 3 phenomenal candidates. One thing I noticed is that I think all 3 of you talked about specifically choosing coming to the Westonka district because of the quality of the education. And thank you for choosing the Westonka district. That makes those of us who have been working on the board feel really good about the work that we're doing. Yeah, again, all 3, I circled some things in my notes. I really liked Brad's response about supporting a board decision you disagreed with, just saying that you would respectfully state your position and then work to try to find a middle ground. And I think that's what I see our board doing in a lot of situations where we all sort of speak our piece, if you will, state our position, and then work to find that common ground. And then you carried that over into the community. You said that board members need to be taking in information, perspectives from all sources, that you're respectfully listening to all the people in the community, which I know is something I try to do in all the contexts I'm in, as I listen to people and their perspectives on how our school board are doing. So I appreciated that very much. Joanna, I really liked that you just said you were really good at listening to everyone's point of view. I think you hit it on the head where you said oftentimes as a board we've worked out issues, we've had conversations with our superintendent individually to say, where are you at in this, Kevin? And we've talked to each other often individually. And so yeah, a lot of the times we come to school board meeting, you'll see us zip through things, but there's been a lot of conversation and thought in that process often for all of us. And I liked what you said that one of your core values is connections. I thought that was just so well said that you said, that's a core value I have and why you wanted to move to a small town. And I don't think we're the 7th largest town in Minnesota by any means, but very different than California for sure. And then Brian, I think I like what you, I guess, Brian, as this Brian said, I like what you said about improving our brand. And you're right. I mean, here we sit in the Lake Minnetonka area with Orono, Minnetonka, and Wayzata, and typically all 4 schools are ranked in the top 10 or 12 in the state. And so the sense of competition it demands that we maintain a high quality of education and that we need to keep working on that as well. I like what you talked about having a duty to the other board members. I think I have great respect for all of our board members and I guess feel that sense of duty, even just making sure I'm at the meetings every time I can be. I identified a little bit with you. I grew up in Mound. I'm a 75 Mound grad myself, and my mom worked at Tonka Toys for 20 years. So I was part of that blue collar community that was really here in Mound, and that community's changing some, as we see around the lake and everything. So again, I'm just going to reiterate what everybody else said. I was sort of hoping one of you would just stand out, right? And all 3 of you stood out. That's So we have to make a decision later tonight, and whatever that is, and I don't know what everybody else is thinking, so I don't know what that decision will be, but just really hope that all of you would consider, as well as the other candidates who applied, would all have the opportunity to apply again. When is it, August, I think you have to apply, or sign up or to run in November, but hope that you would consider doing that, whatever the case, the outcome may be tonight. I really sincerely mean that.
You know, like everybody said here, it's just awesome to have as many people apply and want to be engaged in our school district. That's what makes the school district successful. And it's not that we all agree every time, but we find ways to work and do the right things. And what's important for us is it's not what I want or Brian or Ralph, it's what's right for teaching and education. That's the perspective of the school board member, and I really get that from everybody who interviewed here tonight. That being said, once again, you're welcome to stay. We're gonna go through the rest of the meeting, then we get to the action item. I will go around and ask each member who they would like to support, and the check behind your name, and at that point there, then I'll make a motion for Bristol High Volker to be the new interim school board member. So, once again, thank you.
And thanks for giving us another difficult decision.
This is a good difficult, though, right? It's a good
Yes.
difficult.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the visitor section, and I guess we have, is this just a comment card, or do we have somebody here that wants to speak to the board?
I said the question on the card, I can repeat it if you like.
I'm sorry.
I said the question on the card, there's two questions.
Okay. You want to come on up and
Sure.
ask him?
Hello, Zach Gangstead, 5925 County Road 26 in Trista. I have two questions. First question is, it's brought to my attention there was an issue at a boys basketball tournament recently with one of the board members. I was wondering why that hasn't been addressed or publicly acknowledged, and I would like to know what the recourse or steps and actions are for that type of behavior by a board member.
I will answer to that. I typically don't do answers that we don't do this, we normally get back to you. But the WYBVA is its own entity. They're their own association, own bylaws, they have their own board. And there's been a lot of what I consider misinformation and gossip that's been out there. My suggestion is give them a call, sit down, talk with them to find out what you're looking for and have them explain it to you. And from there, if you think it's an issue that involves the board, then come back to us. But there's been, I'm just gonna tell you, there's been a lot of gossip and some misinformation. And I would suggest you contact them, because they're the ones that make decisions on who's coaching, who's on the board.
Sure.
So.
Well, I did speak with the folks from the Edina Basketball Association as well as the coaches from the Annandale team, and did get some more information that was not gossip. So it's concerning as a member of the board how we're representing not only our district but our kids as well. And it was an argument between member Brian Carlson and the assistant coach. They had a heated discussion on the sidelines. The coach from Annandale thought it was because he had a blind pick on his son. It was actually because the assistant coach had criticized his son. So Brian made a huge scene at a big tournament and formally wrote apology letters to Edina and Annandale coach's system. So I think that is not gossip. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. And I'd like to find out what Brian personally thinks about that.
Well, Brian will not be addressing you tonight on this. I want you to go talk to the Youth Basketball Association, because you're gonna get different opinions from different groups. And I won't banter back and forth on this. They're their own entity, they make their decisions, and they had a conversation and addressed this. So my suggestion is talk to them. If you aren't satisfied with that, then we can talk again.
Sure. If The other question is, if the assistant coach stepped down, why did Brian not step down for instigating the argument?
Talk to the WYBA and they will give you
Yeah,
that
these
information.
issues don't concern.
They're
the school-
board
we're the
member
school-
issues.
we're
He's
school
representing the
board.
district, sir.
Yeah.
I
This is a youth, this is, but this is a youth
This is not a school board.
athletic thing.
Okay.
We have no jurisdiction, association.
So if
that
one of
we
you were
know.
to get a DUI or commit a crime or disrespect the
I think
district,
that,
that
I
wouldn't be
think
an
that's a
issue?
little bit of
That's
an
totally different.
escalation. I
Okay.
don't think that's a
Okay.
fair analogy.
Fair enough. Second question is, multiple people have asked you, Mr. Wallner, for the other 5 people that tried to get to this board seat, some of them being prior candidates. Why has that information not been released, and why did you choose the 3 candidates that are here tonight?
We went through a process of reviewing all of the applications. And we had a week to review them, 3 board members. And just to answer your question, that list has been sent out. The person that requested it of me has it. I gave it to him today. And we went through a process that was very transparent. People looked at these applications, we discussed them, we discussed all the applications, and we went and, at that point, picked our top 3. And it was funny because we didn't have a conversation about who were, all 3 of us picked the same 3 people. So, and that was just out of the blue. And from there, we sat down and came up with the questions to ask, and that's where we're at now.
So how come Kathleen, who had probably the 4th or 5th most votes last election, wasn't highly considered as one of those 3?
Because it was our opinion that these were the 3 best candidates, that's why. And
Based
we're
based
being
on,
very-
based on 1 week's of information versus an
Well,
entire campaign?
sir, you know, we're trying to be very transparent here. We didn't have to do this. We didn't have to do public interviews.
Sure.
We could have just sat around and picked somebody. We didn't do that because we're trying to be transparent. So, you know,
Not
I don't
transparent.
know what
My
else
eyes,
I
but
can
that's your
say.
opinion. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up.
I'm not covered. I just want, can I just stay here, or do you need me to come up there?
Yeah, come on up here, so.
I don't wanna be on camera.
You
look great here.
Tristan, zoom in, would you? No.
You got a close up.
Everybody here knows probably who I am. I wasn't gonna talk, but
I do
you
not.
don't, okay, I sent you an email.
But, yeah.
And I was up here one other time about my son and my kids.
All right, well.
Okay, I am Carrie Kyle,
Okay.
1987 graduate of Westonka High School. Ended up back in Mound to take care of family and ended up with kids. Well, that doesn't sound well. Had my kids when I came back here, and so that's why we ended up going to Westonka. My kids both struggled. I sent an email to everybody on the board. The reason I wanted to talk is because what people were saying. I was disappointed that I sent an email to every board member and nobody got back to me. Nobody.
When was that?
It's last time I was up here,
Okay.
when I sat in the back and cried about my senior that wasn't graduating last year. My 2 kids are not in the bell curve. They're on a different end. They're very, I call them unicorns. It's very hard, you know. They're amazing, smart kids, but they're not your norm kids. They're not into the social, the highly athletic, social, the ones who enjoy high school the most. Okay, let me look, okay, so I sent you guys an email. So you guys were talking about these guys about getting to know people, you know, understanding individual students, mental health, and why people go to Orono. If you're interested, I could tell you why my kids are failing, why even a therapist that I met with said why she directs people to Orono over Mom. So this is a great school district, great people. I love Kevin Borg. I think he's a great guy. I mean, all the teachers, as everybody knows, everybody is so nice, and it's frustrating for me because I have to fight for my kids and kind of be the complaining parent, because they're, you know, and fight for my kids and stand up in front of you guys and a whole house full. that's not me, I mean, you can see my shaking. My husband, on the other hand, if he was here, he's very eloquent. He knows how to manage tons of people and talk with people, but I don't. But Westonka is a good school, but it's not great. And it's not because people like me don't get, nobody cares.
Okay, hey, did you actually send your kids to Orno then?
No, my kids wanna be here.
So-
My
so you
kids'
didn't-
anxiety is too high to switch them out of this school district. I don't even live in the school district anymore. But because of their mental health, I can't switch them over.
Yeah,
I
'cause
interviewed at Orno.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little, I'm a little bit surprised that you're so unhappy with, I'm assuming that they need special education services, or?
They're highly gifted, very smart children.
I'm not suggesting otherwise, but
Yes, they do, they both are on IEPs finally.
Yeah.
It's not your typical, Westonka of Minnesota, I should say, doesn't have GIEPs, gifted IEPs, some states do. And so those states are more used to
and
that.
so you're unhappy with, we don't have a program for them, is
No.
that it?
No, not really. I mean, compared to Orno,
Well, I guess that's why I wonder.
but I mean, that's
if
like, and I'm
Orno's
only.
is that much better, why
Yeah.
you wouldn't have sent the kids to Orno? Because I mean, I have.
Well, what do you mean by sending the kids to Orno? My kids started having trouble in middle school. So that's when I knew that there was a problem here.
And,
And
like
Kevin
grade-
and the teachers worked with you on that?
They have been, but I got, what I was told is Westonka has a good average. So,
Good average.
good success rate of kids graduating.
Oh, yeah, very much
So,
so.
what happened to my kid?
You know, and
Either they're-
I apologize, number one,
Yeah.
if we didn't get back to you on that.
I mean, it was pretty traumatic, I'm not pretty,
No, I recall the email, but I thought it would, if somebody was responding to you, so,
and I'm here, if you want to improve,
How old are your
talk to
kids?
me.
How old are
If
your
not,
kids now? How old are
keep letting it
what
happen.
grades are your kids in?
My 19-year-old is still trying to graduate through Westonka. Thank goodness for Lisa Bonk. He's doing all online. They finally tweaked it enough that it's good for him. What's your question?
Well, I guess I'm a little perplexed that if these kids were having trouble that long ago in the school system, why you didn't transfer them to a school system that you were told would handle it much better. It perplexes
I
me.
wasn't told back then, I was just told this last week.
Because I have 3 kids that went to the school system, and of course, all our kids are all gifted. But 2 of them did need special services, and they did a very good job with them.
Okay, well,
So I guess I'm.
that's why you guys don't improve, because you're turning me
No,
away.
we don't-
No, I'm
You're
not
telling me
turning
my,
you away.
Guys,
all kids
guys,
are
we're not-
gifted?
Guys,
Just
we're
trying to
not-
understand where
Yes.
the breakdown was.
Thank you for your time. Thank
Yeah,
you for your time.
this is why. Thank you.
we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
All right, we begin. January, anonymous West Wing, $100. Anonymous community ed sponsor, a student program, $25. In February, we had preferred one gift to Westonka Wellness for $1,651.32. Anonymous Hilltop Primary, $70. Mound Farmers Market, Shirley Hills Primary, $200. Charities Aid Foundation, MWHS, $117.02. Speech Boosters, MWHS Speech Team Additional Coaches, $1,599.69. Ski Boosters, MWHS, Nordic Ski Team Additional Coaches, $5,998.84. Hockey Boosters, MWHS Boys Hockey Team Additional Coaches, $6,561.68. Boosters, Hockey Boosters, MWHS Girls Hockey Team Additional Coaches, $3,499.59. Anonymous Community Ed Sponsor a Student Program, $100. Minneapolis Foundation Tyler Russell Hill Sunshine Fund Scholarship, $1,000. John and Cheryl Dale, Cheryl Woolley and John Dale Class of '63 Scholarship, $28,000. Butch Humbert, Larry Excel Scholarship, $100. Mike and Alicia Sarneberg, Eric Hagan Memorial Scholarship, $100. Friends of MWHS, First Robotics Tonkabots Program, $10,986.05. Anonymous Choir Chair Student Scholarship, Choir Club, Student Scholarship, $300. Total cash donations for 22-23 school year so far, $198,580.17. There were no non-cash donations made to the district in January or February. And Mr. Chair and fellow board members, I've looked at the check ledger and checks, and all seems to be in order.
Thank you, Ralph. Any school board committee reports? None? Then we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, just really briefly, the big thing with the school district is we have our facilities presentation here tomorrow, Tuesday at the Performing Arts Center, 7 o'clock, where we're going to be talking about the facility committee priorities. And the whole purpose of the meeting is to communicate, but then to get input from the community so we can make sure that we have alignment with where staff, where our parents, where the community at large is, so we can bring a plan forward that we can address our facilities in the best way we can. Would want to share that we don't have a student report today due to the interviews, and we don't have our teaching and learning finance report for the same reason. But board members, you got an update from Kathy on our finance. Enrollment continues to be stable, budgets continue to be on track, and she'll update you in April, as will Mr. Femright with the teaching and learning report. With visitors that address the board, I think Carrie's given us a good thing to reflect on how we can be clear of how we get back to people. One thing that I often do is I respond when there's a person coming to the board that I give a response. Doesn't preclude other people from giving a response, but I know that I've enjoyed my conversations with parents after board meetings or if it's before, and that's something that I'll continue to do. And yet I think there's a reflection that I can always be more clear about saying how I'm responding if it is in response to a question or not. So I just want to offer my apology if that wasn't clear. I also would, I can't be in this meeting without the student representatives report and without a state championship coach to be in the audience to say, girls dance team won state. Molly Carlson's in here. Congratulations, Molly, and your team. I love February in our district because we have so many rounds. It's like one weekend after another weekend. And so if you just followed, Connor Houston is going to internationals in speech. We have 155 students that were at state. That's 20% of our student body in state for DECA. Only to now, what is it, 28 that are going to internationals is the number? I mean, it's fantastic. And so to see so many variations. You got Jack Nelson, 3-time state champ in wrestling. You just keep on going, and it's so much fun. And it fuels our tank to see these kids engage with their activities and experience and have fun with what they want to do. But to coaches like Molly and to all of those that are involved in these things, it's fun to celebrate your kids. And so now we start approaching a spring break, the fourth quarter, and then we kind of see that drive again of kind of celebrating the end of the year. But as a superintendent, it's definitely the thing that fuels your tank and keeps on going is just watching what our kids are accomplishing. And so with that, with this board application process, you saw that I wasn't part of that. I obviously remissed myself from not being part of the process that selects my boss. But I would say from a staff end, and I want to thank Emily and Becca, we really worked hard to be very clear in our communication of what this process was, that everyone knew of this. We did it in print, we did it in the newspaper, we did it in a direct mailing, we did it on our website, we did it as soon as we heard it, and we did it often, so that people would know that this was an opening, and this is a process until we would find it filled. And so I think our goal was that everyone would have the opportunity to know, not just from a quiet mailer, but that we did it many different ways so people could access this information. And for all those that applied, or even those that thought of applying, I appreciate that you gave it consideration. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Kevin. Chair moves for approval of the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'll move on to the action items here. All right. Chair moves for approval of action item 8A, appointment of the interim board member to fill the vacancy. This action item requires a roll call, and we'd first like to go around and ask each candidate, ask each of the board members which candidate they would support. So,
That's clerk, I'll be recording.
pardon?
That's clerk, I'll be recording
Yeah.
the votes each time.
Yeah.
You want me to read
You
the
go ahead and
names?
start.
Okay, Carlson, you're the first one alphabetically.
Brian Roth.
Okay. Davis is next, and I would say Brian. I will go with- yeah. Harrison.
I could pick anyone, but I will go with Brad Hammer.
Okay. Marty.
Joanna Kahn.
And Gary Woolmer.
Brian.
Okay. Is that, we have three then for Brian, and one for Brad, and one for Joanna. Is that enough then that we have, I guess that would be somebody making,
I think you have a majority, so Emily could call a roll call for you to be able to give your
Yeah.
vote. But you
Based on
need a
this-
motion and a second for that.
for the roll call.
Yeah.
Well, then you ask for the motion.
All right. Board calls for roll call on the,
First for the action item, you're gonna want a second
Want a
on the
second?
action
I
item.
just need a second
second.
So,
to nominate Brian as.
Should I
board
listen
member.
just read the,
All right. Based on the board's responses, the chair moves for approval of action item 8A, appointment of the interim board member, Brian Roth. Is there a second?
Second.
And then I'll do the roll call.
Yep.
Okay.
Brian Carlson
Yes, aye.
for Brian Roth.
Yes.
Lauren Davis,
Yes, for Brian Roth.
Ralph Harrison for Brian Roth.
Yes.
Heidi Marty for Brian Roth.
Yes.
And Gary Woolner for Brian Roth.
Yes.
5-0.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
And once again, I want to say to everybody, thank you for coming out. I mean, November will be here before you know it, so don't hesitate to
Please.
come back. We'd really appreciate it, so.
Absolutely.
Yes, please come back, you've already done the hard part.
Yeah, you've done the
Yes.
hardest part. That's exactly right.
All right, we'll move on then. The chair moves for approval of action item 8B, approval of closing open enrollment in grade 6 for the 23-24 school year. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries?
board members on that one, that's allowing us, that's a larger class that's going through, so it caps it at 210 for open enrollment, and it allows us to balance class size, control class size in that area. And so it is, you've capped transition plus and sixth grade, but the rest of the grades would be open next year.
Okay. And will that be adjusted if in fact, you know, some students don't come back and there's openings, then?
It's based on a set number.
Okay.
And so if it falls below it, we can continue to take, but if we hit that number, then it would be closed.
Okay. Chair moves for approval of action item 8C, approval of an increase of .2 FTE for the English language learner program teacher. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair moves for approval of action item 8D, approval of position elimination, reductions, and additions / increases for the 2024, for 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair moves for approval of action item 8E, approval of the 22 and 24 contract between Food Services Service Employee Group represented by Service Employees International Union 284 and the School Board of Independence School District 277. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll just share with the board members that we, with this group, started negotiations a little bit later than the other groups. And so once we began, we were able to come to an agreement, and they've now gotten approved by their group, and that's before you. It follows the board guidance on what we established in Finance Committee to align with our budget. Our hope is we have positions to fill. We still have some vacant positions that we hope to put ourselves in a competitive spot that we can attract the staff that we want, that we're competitive in the area and still stay within our budget.
Is there a second on that?
Yeah,
I'll
Ralph.
second.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Is there any other business to come before the board tonight? I want to thank everybody for the time and effort you put in. We've had a lot of things going on, interim, position and everything, a lot of extra hours, so thank you everybody for all the hard work. And, once again, thank you to the candidates for applying. And not just the people here, but the other people also. There was a group of strong candidates. So, thank you. And with that, Chair moves for adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?